Good day everyone. Before we hop into today's vlog, I just want to remind you to please hit that subscribe button. From now on, I'm going to be putting out daily online poker vlogs. We're going to be tracking my process as I play these 6 max online poker cash games. So far, we've moved up from 1-2 to 2-5, and we're going to keep tracking the process, hopefully as I move up further. But even if I don't, you'll get to see me fall flat on my face 6 out of 7 days of the week. Make sure you hit subscribe so you get the vlogs as they come out. But for now, onto the vlog. G'day everyone, welcome back to the vlog. It is currently 6 AM here in Melbourne. So finally, I've woken up at a more reasonable hour and I should have plenty of time to get my volume in today, thank God. So the plan for today is to play 1,500 hands of 2-5 poker. Obviously we are going on a bit of a downswing at the moment and I've not played my A game in far too long. So the goal for today is to just really focus in and play my A grade level play. I'm actually going to mix in less tables today, which since I did wake up, at a more reasonable hour, I should have plenty of time to still get in the 1,500s, even at less tables. But first, I really need a feed, so I'm going to cook some brekkie, but then we'll get into the poker. Let's go. Okay, so it is about 7 AM at the moment. I've just grabbed a full feed in, decided to switch it up today and have sauteed spinach instead of broccoli. Elizabeth's taking this new nutrition course, which talks about how it's actually really important that you don't just eat the exact same foods every single day, just so you do switch up the micronutrients that you're getting in your diet. So as much as I love broccoli, I'm going to have it a bit less frequently than every single day. So sauteed spinach was a nice change up from that. Regardless though, it's not food time, it's poker time right now. The goal for today is to play 1,500 hands of A grade level play. Like I said, I'm going to go back to playing 4 tables. Hopefully that helps me focus clearer and make better decisions across only 4 tables rather than 5. And really, I will be honest that my confidence isn't the highest right now, being on such a big downswing. I do think I'm the type of poker player that goes off of confidence and plays my best when they've been playing well before. I really need to get back into that winning mentality, and that doesn't necessarily mean I need to book a win today, but I really just do need to be playing my A game and making really efficient decisions. I'm sure the chances of myself having a winning day, if I do so, will be very high. But that's not what I'm focusing on. I'm just focusing on making the best decisions possible, paying attention to my opponent's strategies, seeing what they're doing, and using that self-talk to make sure my thinking process is very logical. So that's the goal for today. Let's get into it. Good day everyone and welcome to the great outdoors. Well, I don't know if they're so great, but it is nice to be recording the vlog from outdoors for once. It's been a while since we've done that, considering everything that's going on in the world at the moment. Currently heading down to the barber shop to try and do something about this mop on my head, but thought I'd record a bit whilst I'm out here. Did get my morning session in, and so far I don't want to give anything away because we will go over results, gameplay grade and volume later on in the vlog, but I was actually pretty pleased with how it's been going so far and hopefully looking to push through in my second session of the day and continue to be happy with my play. For now, let's get this off my head and then we'll go play some more poker. Let's go. Back everyone, it is currently 5 PM here in Melbourne and I got the fresh haircut going, and I've also wrapped up my second poker session for the day. Was able to play a total of 5 hours and 41 minutes today for a grand total of 1,505 hands. So just barely we do squeak out the 1,500 hand goal for the day. Unfortunately, in terms of results today, we did end up losing 772. So unfortunately, the downswing does continue today. In terms of my gameplay grade from today's session though, I do feel like I have improved. I'm going to give myself a B for today's sessions. To be 100% honest with you, I thought my morning session today, I was playing my A game. I really did feel focused, keyed in. I started out only playing 4 tables, and I really felt like that helped boost my confidence because I was making really concise and logical decisions. Then I added in the 5th table and everything was still fine. Then, as you saw, I took the break to go get a haircut and I came back in the afternoon and things just fell off a bit. I think being later in the day and the fact I didn't sleep that much last night, I was fatigued and I was making a few key mistakes. I copped one bad beat and then I had the same issue with the over-aggression yet again. I think this is due to fatigue, which is something I've struggled with ever since I started the Day-Leigh vlogs. So I really just need to key back the aggression because it's ended up costing me a lot this week since I have moved up to the 2-5 game. Unfortunately, it's still an ongoing issue for me, and the fact that my afternoon session was overly aggressive, it definitely wrecks the day for me, put me in the negative in terms of results, and definitely downgraded my gameplay grade a lot. Gonna have to give myself a B today, which isn't ideal, but I will say it is an improvement on yesterday's game, so I'll take a little bit of a victory in that, but obviously I'm still not where I need to be with only a B grade. Obviously, right now, the harsh truth is that my mental game is not where it needs to be consistently beating these 2-5 games, which honestly does frustrate me a bit because, like I said earlier, this morning I did play my A game and I actually did have really good results. I ended up winning about 1,000 in the morning, and not that you want to be results oriented or anything, but I think the reason I did have good results in the morning because I was focused, I was making good reads, good exploits of my opponent's strategies, and I was undistracted and I was disciplined. So I really do think that I am capable of beating these games when I do play my A game. When I came back in the afternoon and I was less focused and less disciplined, everything went to crap and I ended up losing a lot. So it is obviously a pretty frustrating situation, especially when I am capable of making good reads and good plays like I do in this following hand. The action folds to me on the button and I have pocket kings. Obviously a pretty nice hand to look down at on the button, so I go ahead and raise it up to 15 and then I get a call from an unknown big blind. So we go heads up to a flop of King 7-4 rainbow. Big blind checks it over to me here, and I think in this spot we have a pretty interesting decision with what to do with our top set. My initial thought is, well, duh, I should bet. I have a really strong hand I want to build a pot with. But then I think about it a bit more, and with top set here, I really block all of the worst hands that my opponent is definitely going to call a bet with. Like obviously it's much less likely they have King Queen, King Jack, even like King 2 suited. It's much less likely when I do have so many of the kings myself. So I think this might actually be a good spot to mix in a check for a bit of a deception, potentially induce a bet from a worst hand by the villain on the turn. I do think betting's all right as well, but you would definitely have to use a smaller sizing, something to price in a second pair or maybe a gut shot, something like that. As played though, I decide to check my top set here, which I think is a fine play. And then we go heads up to the turn. So the turn is the 10 of hearts, and then the big blind leads out for 20. Obviously we're loving that news, but I do think we have a pretty interesting decision here, whether to just call or raise. The reasons I will potentially like just calling here are pretty similar to why I like checking on the flop. When we do have so many kings in our hand, we really do block a lot of the worst hands that my opponent is going to bet and then call a raise with. Like obviously we know it's a lot less likely to have a 2 pair like King 10 or King 7 suited, or even like a strong top pair like King Queen. It's much less likely when we do have so many kings ourselves. Having said that though, I do much prefer raising in this spot. A, because we really do want to build as big of a pot as we possibly can with the nuts here. And additionally, my opponent does have a few hands in their range that they're going to bet and then call a raise now, but we're not going to be able to get any more action from on the river. I'm talking about 6-5, I'm talking about Queen Jack, open-ended straight draw type hands. And additionally, I don't actually think it's out of the realm of possibility that my opponent will bet call a hand like a 10, because when we do raise here, we're going to have a lot of semi-bluffs in our range as well. Obviously, Queen Jack just turned an open-ended straight draw. So I do think this is a good spot to go ahead and raise, try and build a pot and potentially balance it out with some semi-bluffs like Queen Jack, for example. So that's what I do. I go ahead and raise it up to 60, and then my opponent calls. So obviously we're loving that news, and we are heads up to a river, which is the 8 of clubs. When the big blind checks it over to me, I have a no-brainer decision here to bet for a bit of value. I go ahead and make it 111, and the action gets back to the big blind.
They don't fold, they don't call either. They decide to rip it all in for about 400. And the action's back on me. Obviously, this is a pretty gross spot with top set here. My opponent could definitely potentially have 6-5 in their range, being an open-ended straight draw on the flop. But then I look at the board again, and I'm like, hang on, 6-5 isn't the only straight they could have. They could also have Jack-9, because Jack-9 on the turn has 2 gut shots. They could make a straight on the river if it's either a queen or an 8, and it's an 8 on this river, so obviously concerned that I might lose to a straight here. Then I'm like, is it somewhat possible my opponent is trying to get pocket 4s or pocket 7s all in on the river? And I think probably not, just because the opponent does have to be concerned that I could have one of those straights myself. I think it's more likely they have one of the straights or they're bluffing. And then I think, what potential hands could they be bluffing with here? Well, the most obvious one that sticks out to me is Queen Jack. Queen Jack was an open-ended straight draw on the turn. They could definitely bet and then call the raise and then look for an opportunity to bluff here to try and get me off my set. The only reason I'm a bit skeptical to think that my opponent would use Queen Jack as a bluff here is that I've played a few hands with the villain at this point on the table, and I'd noticed in another hand we played, they actually checked back a missed straight draw when it was actually, I saw what their hand was at showdown. I was a bit like, oh, you could have actually used that hand as a really good bluff to try and get me off a top pair type hand. I won't get into the second hand history now. I think one's enough for today, but I did notice them taking that passive line, but the fact that they didn't go for a bluff there makes me think they're maybe not going for a bluff now, even though it probably is a good spot, because obviously I'm heavily considering folding top set even here. So just because of that and the fact that they do have so many straights in their range, I decide to make the fold with top set there. Obviously it's a big laydown, and I definitely understand if people don't like it, but against this type of opponent with that, and it's only one previous hand history, but it really just did tilt me towards, okay, this opponent is probably less inclined to bluff. And the only reason I noticed that, because I was paying attention at the table, I was remembering previous hand histories, I was cognizant of the hands in my opponent's range in this spot, and I made a pretty big laydown. I came back to the hand later on ignition to check what they have, and wouldn't you know it, Jack-9 offsuit. So obviously I don't want to be results oriented here, but the fact that my opponent did have a Jack-9 offsuit combination in their range, they're going to have a bunch of straights on this river, and even if they do go for it with a Queen Jack hand, obviously I'm going to be behind a lot here with my set, so pretty stoked that I did make this laydown, at least from a results point of view. All right, we've got Elizabeth setting up for a class in the background, so I'm going to have to wrap this one up really quick. Do you guys like my fold with the set there on the river? Do you think I made a good read? Hop in the comments below, let me know what you think. On the river, do you make the fold? Or should you just be calling with a hand as strong as this in your range? Hop in the comments below and let me know. That's going to wrap up another vlog for today. Thank you so much for watching as always. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button below. Helps the channel grow so much. And if you already have subscribed, you're the best. Thank you. For now, I'm out of here. Peace.